While breaking ground on a new site in the heart of the city, a construction crew unearthed an unexpected relic buried deep beneath the surface, an ancient, rusted safe. Its origins, a mystery. Intrigued and eager, they pried it open, expecting perhaps old coins or long-forgotten document. However, the safe contents were neither gold nor papers, but something so profoundly touching that it moved the hardened crew to tears. The workers knew that something like this had to be treasured. Mark was quick to gather himself and run to his supervisor. Not only had he seen these mesmerizing contents, but also helped judge what they were going to do with this. This could surely mean something. However, when he finally got his boss, his face suddenly paled as he turned to Mark to say something in a tone that made Mark feel concerned. "We need to call the police," Mark's supervisor said, shock evident on his face. Mark felt confusion go over his features but complied nonetheless. Seeing his supervisor pat his pockets for a phone, he quickly grabbed his own. As he gave it to his supervisor, he saw relief before the man dialed 911. His voice was dire as he spoke to the respondent, but Mark couldn't understand why. However, that raised a lot of questions. Why had his supervisor responded that way? Why did he feel the need to call the police? And most importantly, why had they found this here, in the heart of the city?
But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories.
Getting the construction contract has been no easy task. Every construction company had wanted it, yet Mark's company had been the one to get it. Even luckier, his team had been the ones deployed to handle it. It was a rare opportunity that Mark and his team gladly took on. They would be under the wing of Jared as their supervisor, and the team had been eager to start. Their construction site would be in the heart of the city, and they had the opportunity to build something magnificent. Mark quickly started to understand why his boss had so desperately wanted the contract. The building they would make would become a significant landmark for many to see. It was the perfect business card. However, they had no clue that it would end very differently from their original expectations. They had been working hard, digging out what had been previously there. This city had history, and they found strange things by digging out the foundations of an older building. Then, their excavator suddenly hit something hard. The loud sound had startled the crew. Had they hit a pipe? Whatever it was, they knew that it couldn't be good. The crew gathered around as a few started to see what the excavator had hit. Jared quickly returned to the blueprints and maps to ensure they hadn't hit something important. He feared having calculated something wrong. However, as the few that started to see what was got started to get the remaining dirt to top it off of it, they noticed something strange. It almost looked like a box, a large metallic box. Using their tools, they measured its size and made a joint effort with the help of the excavator and other tools to get the thing out and move it to flat land. They had to see what strange thing they had found, but as the excavator placed it on the ground and made it turn over in doing so, they all saw the front of the box. It was a safe. It was old and a bit rusted, but it is safe nonetheless. The letters on the front had faded, giving no clue what contents it could hold, but every crew member there recognized the iconic wheel they had often seen in movies before. The group stood divided. Should they open the mysterious safe or report it? Curiosity won out, and one worker began prying it open with welding tools. Slowly, the rusted door gave way. None of them expected what they found inside to move them to tears. As the door creaked open, a collective gasp rose from the crew. Whatever was inside struck a deep emotional chord, and they were stunned to be the first to uncover something hidden beneath the city for so long. Mark, however, noticed someone missing: his supervisor, Jared. He knew Jared would know how to handle this. Without hesitation, Mark turned and jogged off, guessing Jared was still combing through files to figure out what pipeline they might have hit. No one had told Jared they'd hit a century-old safe instead of a pipeline. When Mark finally found him and explained, alarm immediately crossed Jared's face. He dropped his paperwork and rushed toward the site, leaving Mark puzzled. Why was he so shaken? When they arrived, Mark expected awe or emotion, but Jared's reaction was different, tense, urgent. Without hesitation, he reached for a phone and called the police. Mark, still confused, couldn't understand what Jared had seen that the rest of them hadn't. Jared paced nervously, speaking on the phone in hushed, tense tones. Mark caught only fragments, but it was enough to know something was wrong. He began to wonder if they should have left the safe untouched. His questions were soon answered as sirens pierced the morning air. Police vehicles arrived quickly, officers spilling out and taping off the site. Mark and the crew stood back, tools in hand, watching their worksite turn into a crime scene. All eyes turned to the safe as officers carefully examined its contents: dust-covered metals, faded letters, and old photographs. The crew watched in silence, a solemn respect settling over them. Whispers spread as military insignia on the metals became visible. A few veterans among the crew exchanged quiet, knowing glances. Something significant had been uncovered. Their eyes reflected a cocktail of emotions: pride, sorrow, and deep respect. For them, these were not just relics. They were reminders of sacrifices made, of comrades and family members who had served. Amidst the crew's emotional stir, Jared stood apart, his expression unreadable. His eyes, fixed on the safe, flickered with something that looked like recognition. Mark noticed Jared's clenched jaw and the way his hands balled into fists at his sides. It was clear that the safe's contents meant something different, something more personal, to Jared. The police, recognizing the potential historical value of the find, began documenting everything meticulously. They photographed the safe, its location, and meticulously bagged each item, labeling everything with care. The site, once a routine construction zone, had become a quiet witness to a story emerging from the past. The crew stood nearby, exchanging uneasy glances as police activity intensified. Questions circled silently: why the urgency, and why had their supervisor reacted with such alarm? Theories took shape in their minds, ranging from hidden treasure to long-lost documents, each idea adding to the mystery. Memories of family members who had served in past wars surfaced, giving the discovery a personal and emotional weight. What was meant to be a standard day's work had shifted into something far greater. The construction site, now filled with officers and historians, stood at the heart of an unfolding historical enigma, one none of them had expected. Someone voiced the shared uncertainty. How long would their work be delayed, and what would the investigation uncover about the safe and Jared's strange behavior? Police began questioning the crew, one by one. Each recounted how the safe was found, their stories tinged with a mix of curiosity and unease. Mark watched as his co-workers returned, their expressions thoughtful, each adding a piece to the growing puzzle. The arrival of historians brought new energy. They eagerly examined the safe and its contents, their conversations filled with historical references and theories. The crew, fascinated, watched their once routine site become a stage for discovery. Working alongside the experts, the crew shared details about the site and the discovery. Their usual tools were traded for insight and memory, helping build a narrative rooted in the past. The excitement shifted to a sense of wonder. What stories lay hidden in the safe? And why had they been buried here, waiting to be found? News vans lined the street, and reporters crowded the area, eager to capture the unfolding story. The crew, unaccustomed to such attention, watched as their workday turned into a media frenzy. Word of the discovery spread quickly, drawing curious locals who gathered at the edges of the police tape, speculating about the safe's content. The once ordinary site had become the center of public fascination. Crew members found themselves in the spotlight, with reporters seeking first-hand accounts. Some shied away, while others shared their experiences, caught between pride and disbelief. Work halted as the mystery took center stage. The media buzzed with wild theories, from hidden treasures to secret documents. The crew listened to these wild speculations, amused and sometimes bewildered by the fantastical stories being spun around their discovery. The safe had become a catalyst for imagination and conjecture, its true story still buried in mystery. The construction site had transformed into a hub of activity, drawing the attention of locals and media alike. Cameras clicked and reporters did live broadcasts, capturing every development. The crew, caught in the whirlwind, continued to work amidst the frenzy, their mundane tasks now part of a narrative that had captured the city's imagination. The investigation into the safe's contents progressed methodically. Historians and police worked in tandem, meticulously analyzing each item. Documents were scrutinized and artifacts were carefully examined, as every clue was pursued in the quest to unravel the safe's history. As the investigation continued, initial findings began to hint at a connection to a notable historical event. Whispers among the historians suggested excitement over a potential breakthrough. The crew, catching bits and pieces of these conversations, felt a growing sense of anticipation. The safe, once just an obstruction in the ground, was now a key to a possibly significant historical narrative. Despite the growing interest and speculation, the investigators maintained a strict level of confidentiality. Details of the findings were closely guarded, with only vague hints escaping the tight circle of the investigation team. This secrecy only fueled more curiosity among the crew and the onlooking public, each eager to know the true story behind the mysterious safe. Mark's curiosity about the safe's history grew with each passing day. His fascination led him to start his own informal research, poring over local history books and online archives in his spare time. The mystery of the safe had sparked a newfound interest in history within him. The investigation began to suggest that the contents of the safe held significant historical value. The crew overheard excited discussions among the historians about the potential implications of their findings. This revelation added a layer of reverence to the way the crew viewed the safe. It was no longer just a relic. It was a portal to a past that held important stories waiting to be told. Mark embarked on his own investigation into the safe's history. He spent his evenings researching and diving into online archives and historical databases. Each piece of information he uncovered fueled his desire to learn more. Mark's quest had become more than just about the safe. It was now a journey into the city's forgotten past. At the local library, he combed through dusty archives and historical texts, uncovering documents that hinted at long-lost events and stories. Each discovery added a new piece to the puzzle. His workspace filled with notes and photocopies as he mapped out dates, events, and figures, seeking connections to the safe's origins. What began as research grew into a personal mission, one he eagerly shared with friends and family. The mystery had drawn him in completely, reshaping how he saw the city and deepening his connection to its history. Meanwhile, back at the construction site, confusion stirred. Jared was unexpectedly absent, his usual spot left empty. The crew exchanged uneasy glances as Jared's unexplained absence stretched from hours into days. His sudden disappearance was out of character, and concern quickly replaced confusion. They recalled his anxious behavior, hushed calls, nervous glances just before he vanished. Speculation swirled about Jared's connection to the safe. His reaction had been so different from theirs, suggesting he may have known more than he let on. Rumors grew, ranging from secret knowledge to a personal tie with the safe's contents. The construction site, once buzzing with activity, fell into an uneasy stillness. Machinery sat idle, and the usual camaraderie faded under the weight of mystery. The crew, now adrift in uncertainty, found their work halted and their thoughts consumed by the unanswered questions surrounding Jared and the safe. With construction delayed and no clear answers, tensions among the crew began to rise. Frustration grew as conversations shifted from work to speculation and disagreement. As the investigation progressed, anticipation spread through the crew and the community. Hints suggested a major revelation was near, and each new detail fueled growing curiosity. When the truth emerged, it linked the safe's contents to a controversial historical event, sending shockwaves through the crew. The items were more than relics, they were proof of a buried past, long hidden beneath layers of history. In an emotional moment, Jared revealed a family secret. His ancestors had been wrongfully implicated in the very event the safe exposed. His earlier reaction now made sense, rooted in personal stakes and long-held pain. The documents inside the safe cleared his family's name, offering undeniable evidence that rewrote a part of history. For Jared, it was more than vindication. It was the end of a generational burden. The crew, once bystanders, became part of a powerful story of justice and redemption. What started as a local mystery became a moment of historical reckoning. The community responded with awe, and the story spread quickly. The story of the safe became a catalyst for broader discussions on history, justice, and the value of re-examining the past. Acknowledging the wrongful accusation against Jared's family began a process of communal healing and reflection. The construction site transformed into a symbol of reconciliation. When work resumed, the crew approached it with renewed purpose. This was no longer just a building, but a monument to truth and resilience.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable tale like this one.